Okay, so we're reacting to Hidden Xperia XP. What the freak? Hidden Xperia. Some of my friends told me that this video is pretty solid. I wanted to react to it, give it my thoughts. I started a little bit, kind of heard some of the things he had to say. I'm not sure whether it's all gonna be things I agree with or not, but usually honestly, everybody in the Halo community is pretty on pretty much on the same level when it comes to critiques and what they want. And we'll see what happens. Let's take a look at the video and let's get down to it, man.
I want to talk about something very important today. I want to talk about what I think should and probably will change about the original Halo 1 in the Halo 1 remake. Specifically,
I don't think anything should change. But okay.
I want to go through every level individually and pick out maybe 2 or 3 of the main things that I both want and hope to see changed, because although Halo 1 might be a bona fide masterpiece in my eyes, it's not perfect. No piece of art ever
It's perfect, man.
is. Yes,
It is.
even Halo 2 and Metal Gear Solid 2, as much as it hurts my soul to say that. So I want to go through and take a look at what I think should change in this remake. And I want to start before we even get into the game itself. I want to start with the menu, because as you all know, Halo's menus, at least historically, were incredibly iconic. Not just because they were nice to navigate and pretty to look at, but because, at least in the Bungie era, all the menus set the tone and the vibe and the aesthetic of the game perfectly. They were the best jumping on point for getting into the game. They set the vibe immaculately. And I gotta say, so far with the remake, the menu that we've seen, it's definitely not Bungie quality. However, compared to every 343 menu, it is night and day. But
He's right on the setting the tone. I'm not sure. Like, to me, it's the least of my problems with everything we know about the Halo campaign evolved, and he actually got to play it, so I recommend checking his videos on it. Also, the Act Man got to play it, but yeah, I think he has a point. We do need the menu to really stand out. But let's see what more he has to say, because I have some thoughts, like, on, without giving away too much of what's gonna come next, but let's see what he has to say about it. And yeah, I'm on board of, like, the menu being better. I don't like this whole, like, it's all like boxy. It's not, I don't know, it seems like our modern futuristic without the futurism of Halo. Like, if you look back at the menu, it's all like kind of highlighted around it. I don't know. It was like a unique aesthetic to it, but
I've got some
let's get back
improvements that
to
I
it.
want to see. So right now, as you can see, the menu is literally just a pan through a bunch of different clips of the silent photographer with a kind of greenish hue put over it, which is a great starting point, but there's so much more they could do with this. You gotta remember that this game is gonna be the first Halo
Yeah, the green
experience for
sucks.
a lot of people, specifically on PlayStation, so you don't really want to give too much away with the menu background, and so what I really want to do is actually what Valkyrie said right here. I think it'd be awesome if, when you first boot the game, the background is just like a very original Halo 1 styled pan of the ring. But then completing a level unlocks a new set of kind of pans for the menu. So say you're up to the silent photographer. Well, every single level up until that point would have pans in the menu that would crossfade between each other. So in a way, like he said, it'd be kind of like Half-Life 2, which I really dig. I do have to just say real quick though, I'm very happy they've gone for this style of menu over literally any of the other 343 ones that were kind of just static images. This menu, even though it's not perfect, has infinitely more source than any Halo menu that we've had for like over a decade at this point. It's a great starting point, just some really cool things they could change to make it even better.
Um, oh, freaking A, dude. Yeah, I don't have ad blocker or whatever, but he has a point. Now, I think it's the least of our problems. I'm okay with it just being the ring, the original one, because it sets a tone and a respect from what came before. The menu doesn't need to be like you don't need to put that much detail in the menu, man. We got way more problems to figure out. The yeah, I think it's a good idea. I like that idea, but especially for HaloCE or Campaign Evolved, this new one to bring in new fans and all that. Keep the original, even with the original graphics if you wanted to, that would have been better. And then put it right in the menu, like it menu. Put the menu right in the middle, like how you saw it. You know how it was. Let's see, how it was. You guys know how it is. I'm not gonna keep going back and forth, you know. But yeah, like yeah, I'm gonna like this video real quick. But yeah, the just keep the ring, the whole menu in the middle, simple, make it nice, and yeah, it is better than what we've gotten before. But I don't know, like I know we didn't want the. I know it's really boring Halo 5 with that ship in the middle and just ships flying in, but it's to me they're both kind of similar. I don't think it's that much of a difference. I still think it's a little bit distant from what we had in the Bungie era.
Jumping into the Pillar of Autumn, the first thing that I want to see change is something that I want to see stay the same, but also change, and that is the tutorial. Needless to say, Halo 1's tutorial is beyond iconic. Not only is it just purely iconic, but at the same time, it is a genuinely great tutorial for the base mechanics of the game that also at the same time segues into the story of the game really well and really naturally. I think some games suffer from the issue of tutorials feeling very disconnected from the overall game, whereas Halo 1 makes the tutorial contextual, and I love that. However, one thing that I really want to see changed is the ability to skip the tutorial on any difficulty, because on regular Halo 1, unless you're playing on Legendary, every time you play Pillar of Autumn, you have to go through the tutorial, which is quite annoying for people like me who play the game like thousands of times at this point. Maybe have it so once you've completed the campaign for the first time, you have the option to just skip it. The next thing that I really want...
Yeah, two things, like, I didn't really think of that they actually implemented, like, I've been playing this game forever, but it's one of the only games, or maybe the only thing that I could think of that the tutorial is right in the beginning. Again, I don't play a whole lot of video games, but I play a crap ton of Halo. Yeah, having the tutorial implemented into the story, I never really caught that as like just a detail that I thought of. I just don't think of that stuff. But yeah, he's also right. Like, I've played it a million times, and the only way to play the Pillar of Autumn to not do the tutorial is on Legendary, and I think on co-op as well. But yeah, like I'm.
Want to see on Pillar of Autumn is a much more dynamic skybox. Of course, in OG Halo 1, Bungie was severely limited with this because obviously the hardware of 2001 just didn't really allow for tons of stuff going on beyond the boundaries of the level, but now we don't have those limitations anymore. I want to see longswords dogfighting with seraphs out the window, cruisers launching plasma bombardments at the Pillar of Autumn while she returns fire with her mat cannons, and so much more. I want to feel like this ship is at the heart of a galactic war that it realistically is in universe. And you know, I gotta say, Bungie did this excellently with the Cairo in Halo 2. If you look out the windows on Cairo Station, it really does feel like you're in the middle of a full-blown Earth invasion, which of course you are. And that was done in 2004. There is no way that that can't be done now with UE5 running on Blam. That has to be done.
Yeah, it needs to stay simple.
The third thing I want to see on POA is more high-ranking troops near the bridge. So, of course, with the captain being on the bridge, you would assume that it would be really locked down, but in regular Halo 1, of course, given that there were no ODSTs in Halo 1, it's just Marines there. but I want to see that change. I think having ODST guards, or maybe some like special, really high-ranking Marines, almost like Gears of War's Onyx guards, for example, guarding the bridge, would be really, really cool. Totally, like, unnecessary, just a nice little cool thematic change.
Yeah, it is unnecessary. At the end of Halo Reach, like, they're trying to get there as fast as possible. Like, that's why your Spartan dies. You know, like, you stay back to fight off all the phantoms and everything. Every capital ship, like, there's a capital ship going towards you, about to destroy the Pillar of Autumn, and you're holding them back. So I'm okay with not having ODSTs on the Pillar of Autumn. Now I'm okay with more Marines, like even being right next to Captain Keyes and things like that. But you know, like when you kill Captain Keyes, that corridor opens and all those Marines come out. I think Sergeant Johnson as well. Excuse me. But yeah, I love seeing the ODSTs coming in Halo 2. I thought it was a nice add, and you know, maybe in later missions on Halo C, but I don't think ODSTs need to be in here at all. Yeah.
So, moving on to the surface of Halo, with the fittingly named Halo, the biggest thing that I want to see change, which I think we're all on the same page with, is the addition of wildlife. Of course, Bungie originally designed this level with wildlife in mind, and its absence is really apparent in the regular version of the level. I'm not going to say the environment feels dead, because it doesn't, but you can tell that there's something missing, and the Halo 1 remake has to rectify that. The main wildlife that I really want to see running around these plains is, of course, the blind wolves. They were meant to be there originally. They are the most iconic cut piece of wildlife in all of Halo. They are canon now, so there's no reason not to add them. I mean, hell, we've already seen some of the wildlife on the Silent Cartographer. In fact, the wildlife that is on that level in the current build of the remake is actually really, really, really good. They've really gone out of their way to make it feel like a real lived world. Let's extend that to Halo and include the blind wolves.
Yeah, I think like wildlife needs to have a purpose, right? The blind wolves, if they're roaming around, they need to be part of like you know, like some sort of threat a little bit, like you're just standing around and then a blind wolf comes out of nowhere. Like that scene right there, all of them running down. We don't need that much. Maybe you find a cave and like as you come across and the blind wolves come out, whatever. Or like for me, I don't really care too much about the wildlife. Yeah, it adds to the atmosphere. Still the anniversary and campaign evolved are too bright. So I would say what I would want would be like if there was a bird, let's say he comes in to get a fish, but you're shooting at an elite, and then he jumps in and then he catches some of the bullets. Obviously dies, but it doesn't go through to the elite. Something like that, where like it literally blocks your gameplay, or if you're like going fast on a warthog and then a bird comes up or a blind wolf, it like damages your shields and your warthog a bit. You know, like simple things that could add an extra element of gameplay. But yeah, I don't. Me personally, I don't really care about the wildlife as long as the gameplay is solid. Like, if you turn on the anniversary graphics, there's so much to freaking see and look at. It's not great, but that's what you're gonna see with Campaign Evolved. Like, it's not just a patch of a grass on a hill. Like, I would prefer if the environment was more interactive. Like, if I shot, you know, I used the tank and shot a freaking tree, the tree would blow in half and then that trunk would fall, and you know, or like the bark would like blind me a little bit. Like I like just get like debris going in my face and I had to move out of the way. You know, things like that. I'd prefer that over having wildlife. Like, we could have both, obviously, but you know what I mean.
And actually, you know, whilst we're on the topic of cut enemies, especially in Halo 1, please, please give us the HaloCE. I am begging you. These guys have been cut from so many Halo games at this point. They're canon, they're in the lore, but they've been cut from so many Halo games, and they're another one of the examples of one of Halo's many links back to Marathon. So bringing them back in some capacity, hell, maybe even in the Chief and Johnson prequel story, would just be incredible.
Yeah, in the Chief and Johnson
being
prequel
able to
story,
build an app with your name on.
They could be like in like a corridor, like a cave. But if they interrupt the current gameplay without adding anything, and it's not like it feels out of place for HaloCE. It might not be out of place for Halo, but it might be out of place for HaloCE. Again, we have to emulate what came before. Like, and I understand this is a new game. They're remaking the game. They're not remastering it. It is gonna be different, different way of playing and everything, but which I don't like. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Like those big old creatures. It's got to be like an added part of the mission. Like I feel like if they're gonna add things to the maps, to the levels, it's like you could play the level as it's originally intended to be played, but maybe if you go into this other side of the mountain or this other way of getting to the same part of the map, you trigger wildlife. You pick something like a I don't know, like a overshield or something, and it triggers more more enemies, higher ranking enemies. It triggers more it makes the rest of the map different. You know what I mean? I don't know. In my head it makes sense. But yeah.
I do want to see actually changed from the original Halo is more variance with the marine camps. Now, don't get me wrong, I love this level. I think it's great, but I don't love it as much as everybody else seems to. I think for me, this level has gotten quite repetitive over the years, especially compared to Silent Cartographer, which is a kind of similar styled level, like semi to full open world. I think that level has far more variance and just far more replayability to it than Halo does, because I'm just going to the exact same 3 camps across the map. I think if they vary the locations of the camps and say maybe had 3 marine camps but 6 possible locations they could spawn in every game, that kind of random variance would add so much more to the vibe of the level and would also give me more of a reason to explore beyond the fixed beaten path after my first playthrough. Because that's one of the things with Halo, like, again, I've played that level like 1,000 times now. I know exactly where each of the 3 camps are, and even though there are more areas in that world to go to, I never go to them because there's no point. Whereas if they randomize the location of the marine camps, well, I'll have more of a reason to explore with each playthrough.
I see where he's coming from, but I would say, like, they're gonna do things like where we have to find audio logs or skulls or whatever. I think they should do something in universe, like the audio logs, like kind of ODST did. So I would say everything is the exact same in that map, but you actually go up those mountain hilltops, go outside of the intended walkthrough, and as you're going, like Cortana speaking in your ear and being like, "Oh, this it looks like we're I don't know, like pointing out the what type of covenant is currently on the ring and whatnot, oh, it seems like we might come across this this elite in the future, because he's possibly on the ring and he might I don't know, like little clues adding to a nice little side quest through every mission, where like originally you'd have to do some sort of trick shot or glitch to get on the other side, but now it's like it's still difficult to get on the other side of these maps where you're not intended to walk through. But now that you have the intention of walking through it, there's enemies, so there's some more gameplay, enemies that maybe you haven't seen before. And again, you could still play the original way, but you're just getting a little added extra. And then we got to think about the achievements too. Like killing every elite on Truth and Reconciliation or something. You're gonna have to explore. So because of the achievements, it's gonna force you to spend more time on a map. So it isn't necessary to change how the map is intended to be played to get from the start to the end of the mission, but you could have more gameplay because you're trying to get this achievement with other enemies or characters that you didn't see in HaloCE or in the original playthrough as you play through the first time. Or maybe after you play every difficulty, like they could have legendary difficulty on lock where you have to play through normal difficulty, then you unlock heroic, then you play through heroic difficulty, then you unlock legendary and you play through legendary difficulty, and they're just added to the story each time. I don't know if that would piss people off, but with the new game and what they intend for us to only play campaign because there's no multiplayer, I would say that would probably be the best way to go about it. And you get all these extra clues, you get this extra cutscenes, little side quests, make it more half open world, Yeah.
Now, moving on to Truth and Reconciliation, this is one of the levels that I think has the most potential with changes. The first major thing that I want to see changed, given the nature of the mission that you're on, is the addition of ODSTs. I really, really, really want to see Chief infill with ODSTs onto the ship, because at the end of the day, you're going to save the captain, right? You need the absolute elite of the elite alongside Chief. And yeah, Marines are great, Marines are awesome, but man, raiding that ship with ODSTs, even though that's not how the current canon is, I do think would be an awesome thematic change to really build the kind of severity of the mission that you're on. Because, yeah, obviously, it's quite severe because you're going to rescue the captain from an enemy ship, but if you had ODSTs alongside you, I just feel like that would be so, so cool. It'd also be a really great way to introduce the ODSTs, whilst at the same time clearly differentiating them from the Marines. They aren't just your regular soldiers. These guys are, at least besides the Spartans, the best of the best. But
okay. He clearly likes ODSTs. I don't necessarily. Okay, we can have Marines that look slightly different, as in. And then have added dialogue like three of you. This is now your test to becoming an ODST or whatever. Because if you take the military, you're not like every branch of the military has its function. You know what I mean? Like the severity. Captain Keyes isn't the most important one. The most important one is Cortana. She's the one that can't be compromised or captured, because then they'll find Earth. That's why Captain Keyes gives them that. Now, when it comes to the Flood, it still wouldn't make sense after 2 betrayals to go find Captain Keyes with ODSTs, because now everybody's flipping out, right? Like everybody's just trying to survive at that point, and nobody survives other than Chief and Cortana and Johnson. Now, I would like to see Marines that are like the same Marines, and then maybe 3 added Marines or soldiers that they're in the ODST program, but they didn't do their test, and then if they survive that mission, they'll become ODSTs once they leave the ring or something like that. But yeah, we don't need ODSTs in HaloCE, not because it changes any dynamics or anything. It's something that's if we get it, cool. I'm not gonna complain about it. Again, I think we have way more problems than ODSTs.
Hands down, the number one change that I want to see, not just on Truth and Wreck, but arguably in the entirety of Halo 1, is the addition of stealth mechanics. And of course, the intro section to Truth and Wreck is absolutely built for it. In fact, it almost feels like Bungie designed the entire thing for stealth, but kind of just forgot to implement the stealth stuff at the last minute. I've played so many mods now that let you stealth the intro section before you get to the lift, and it just feels so natural. It really does feel how the level should have always been played, and this is the number one thing I want to see them add. And you know, to go one step further, there's a lot of talk at the moment about one of the 9 new weapons that they're adding being the SMG, given that they've kind of nerfed the Halo 1 AR down to 32 rounds to possibly make room for the SMG. So if they're going to add any SMG to the game, I would love for that to be the M7S, the suppressed SMG, to fit with stealthing the intro section of Truth and Wreck. Of course, the game doesn't have dual wielding, so the only other option, if they are adding the SMG, is just a single-wielded, like, singular SMG, which I think would be really boring, to be honest with you. If you're going to add an SMG and you're not going to do dual wielding, at the very least, add the M7S and have it integrate with that stealth gameplay.
Yeah, I get it, but we don't need it. Like, we're not gonna get that weapon, I don't think. I agree with the stealth, but unless you're gonna do dual wield, we don't need the SMG. Like, the SMG should only be around if you're gonna do dual wielding. And then the only reason the ODST don't do dual wield because they're not as big as a Spartan.
The shirt that I'm wearing might be biasing me a little bit here, but I just feel like the entire level is themed perfectly around stealth, and to have to go through it loud again would really, really suck. It's the kind of gameplay that Halo's never really done properly. There's been little instances here and there where you can backsmack 1 or 2 elites and grunts and then everything goes loud. I want proper, fully functioning Splinter Cell / Metal Gear Solid style stealth in Halo 1's remake. It would fit perfectly. So, with this remake on the horizon now, it's time to start eyeing up a new PC. Thankfully, my sponsor all talk about this much because I think that it's not my favorite Halo level, but I do think that it's the most perfectly designed example of Halo's gameplay loop and level design in the entire franchise. And that said, as well, having played the actual build of it in the remake, not much has really changed, so I think the approach they're going for, at least with that level, is to keep it mostly the same because, you know, don't fix what ain't broke. 343 were absolute bastards for doing that, to be honest with you, and I mean, Halo Studios clearly are in some places as well, but I think here they've kind of learned their lesson that the Silent Cartographer, at least in terms of layout and progression, is pretty much perfect, and nothing needs changing because nothing can be improved. I will say, though,
except they changed it and freaking... It's something so simple, but it's part of Halo. I think it's just because everybody tried to fit the Warhog through the damn tree and rock. So it just became a part of Halo. Like, get the Warhawk through there, man. So, yeah.
Aside from all my problems with like the aesthetic and stuff like that in the build that I played, there are 2 things that I really, really, really want to see added back to the Silent Cartographer. First one being power-ups. And I mean the actual power-ups. None of this nonsense Halo 5 and Infinite button thing. Those things are so dull. I'm talking the actual...
They're freaking retarded. This is solid. And like, honestly, I don't even know why here's a critique on Bungie. I don't know why they changed it from this to the big old orb. Like, this makes way more sense. Even if it doesn't make sense, it's sick. Like, it's subtle, it's harder to find, it's not really in your face. Yeah, like, even like if I was in charge of like remastering Halo 3, I would add these back in instead of the big old orbs.
OG power-ups. Wait for it. This bad boy. It's not turned on right now. Shout out Green Knight. But this bad boy and also the camera module, I want to see them back. We did see that there's a button prompt for activating an ability, so I do wonder if they're going to have those and have like an almost Doom 2016 style animation where like Chief gets it and crushes it in his hand. Like that would be so sick with those power-ups.
Like we can't
either
walk
way,
over it.
I want to see those come back. And also, in addition, I need to see the Covenant comm crate make its return. That thing is just so quintessential to the vibe and the atmosphere and the aesthetic of Halo 1. And it wasn't there in the build that I played, which is sacrilege. Bring it back.
Yeah, it's just like we had that video of them talking about like what is, they even use the word sacrilege and like, no, don't move that. And then something so simple that us fans have to point out that's not on there. Like, yeah, why take that out? Like, to fit one of your bullcrap ideas with like everything that's going on with the crosshairs and just, dude, freaking Halo Industries or Studios, piece of work, man.
Moving on to the assault in the control room, this is one of my favourite Halo 1 levels purely because it's a snow level, but there's definitely some stuff that I want to see changed, and I think the most universally approached thing in that regard is adding more variants to the Forerunner rooms.
Every time I hear change, I'm like, what are you going to say, man? You're freaking me out through this whole video. Say change a lot, and I'm like, what, man? Why would you change perfection? I don't get it.
Design of the Forerunner rooms in this level. I'm also not a big stickler for repetitiveness either. I don't mind the repetitive rooms. That said though, I would love more variants in the hallways and the rooms that we go through in the cliffside. There's not really much to say in that regard, I just want more different rooms. I want more rooms that flesh out the actual facility there, because we still don't really know what that facility is beyond the phase pulse generators, of course, so add more rooms that give us more of an insight into what the Foreigners use these hallways for, or what these rooms were originally used for, just more to give us more context to the area and flesh out the backstory of it, which is one of the things that they say they want to go into more with certain levels, environmental storytelling. Well, that's one of the best ways to do that. And the other thing...
Well, I don't want them to touching Forerunner stuff. They suck with that. Again, don't change the current rooms and layouts, but yeah, you could add more rooms in different areas. And that maybe explains, yeah, what those rooms were used for, but I don't know. I just think that's like more of an unnecessary change, I'd say.
That I want to see changed is more large-scale warfare. Of course, Assault in the Control Room is the tank level in Halo 1, and yeah, there's one tiny section of the level where you do get some large-scale warfare, but that's kind of it. Most of the rest of it is just tank versus infantry. I want more huge, large-scale warfare with tons of wraiths and maybe even a couple scorpions rolling out alongside you as well now that Marines can drive. Honestly, take the vibes of the Ark in Halo 3 when the Dawn comes in and you roll out with a Lance of Scorpions and put it into Assault in the Control Room and have it feel like this kind of desperate rally with the troops that you find in the valley in Scorpions against tons of Wraiths. I would love that.
I'd be alright with more Warhogs, but I don't think it's... I think it breaks away from the lore of like everybody's scattered. You're still trying to find each other. People are... Like, this isn't, you crash landed. You didn't land nicely on the ring and then, like, everybody was in the same spot. You could get everything. Like, you crash landed. You might not even have any tanks. Like, we're lucky we got a tank and a Warhog. And also, you got a tank because another Pelican crashed. So, I get it. I just don't think it has a place in the story, like in Master Chief's story. Now, like, yeah, I don't know how you would implement that. I think in HaloCE, you, like that's not necessary, man. I don't think that's a good idea. They maybe prolong it. I'd say the enemies have more. Maybe you could have some guys like on a Warhog. Like one thing, okay. This is gonna sound terrible, but one thing Halo 5 did right. Now stick with me. Is the interaction where it was fun, where you could point your Spartan team to like go over here, shoot from here, like if they implemented that and then took the aggro mechanic from Army of Two, where it's like, hey, I need you to distract the enemies, so then they start firing, so then maybe you could sneak around. That would add with the stealth, but also it would make it more fun with the AIs, where and also adding more achievements, like it's going to be more difficult because you can actually determine where the Marines are going to go, where they're going to shoot from, all that fun stuff, so that they could get to wherever you want them to go. You could actually choose that. I think that would be like way better than telling the Warhawk to go over there, flank them, whatever. Being able to utilize the AI Marines and stuff. Like, I think that would be better than just all that, and it would add to the gameplay. I think it would make it more fun.
So, moving on to my favourite level in Halo 1, Shock Horror 343 Guilty Spark, and there's some definite things that I would like to see changed / added here. Mostly within the facility. The biggest thing is that I really want to see some facility interaction similar to what Ruby added to his Rebalance mod. So in his mod, there's tons of nodes and terminals and power conduits on the wall that you have to use to open certain doors or unlock new areas in the level. You have to turn the power on to activate certain terminals, which unlock certain things. It's a real intricate and grounded and realistic way to do environment interactability, and it does make the facility feel that bit more realistic, even though it's set 500 years in the future. There's even one section where if you save an engineer from the flood, it will then come down and activate a node for you, which is just ingenious and also very contextual and lore accurate design. It really does make that facility feel canon and just so immersive. You feel like you're exploring not just a set of blocked out walls that a level designer's made, it feels like you're exploring an actual flood research facility made by the actual foreigners. But then coming out of the facility,
I agree to a point. I think it doesn't need that much. It would be great to interact, to really drive the drama interacting as you discover the flood. Like, hey, something is coming. That's like why you saw so much blood and you're like, wait, what the freak? And you saw that elite, and he in the cutscene where like he died from the inside out, like the alien, like the Ripley's alien, So I don't think it needs all of that, but you could add a little bit as you go in. It's already it can get confusing with the drama. Like, if they bring back the horror element, like, I think when the flood is introduced, all the lights should go out. Like, it's a legit horror game where only the lights of the helmet or your assault rifle is on, and then like when a freaking it's pissing me off that I can't remember the little flood things, like they'll jump at you and it just scares you, or like one of the big ones like whacks you in the face and you don't even see it coming. You just flip the flashlight around and just this flood tentacle slapping you across the face. Like, that would really bring in the horror element, where like the lights start going out and you have to rely on your flashlight. And yeah, I just don't think it needs that much interaction. We need to feel the horror element more. Like, it needs to get darker as you get to the door and unlock it.
An area of the level that I think is actually really slept on is the swamp, because we don't really spend much time in it. We kind of rush through the swamp at the start to get into the facility, and then we kind of rush out of it at the end to escape. We don't really get to spend any proper time exploring the swamp, and that's something that I'd really like to see changed in the remake. Yeah, the vibe of the facility is really creepy, this desolate, abandoned, ancient research facility. Terrifying. But you can't deny as well that swamp just sets the tone amazingly. It has such a creepy vibe to it, and exploring that and encountering infected in the swamp in the dead of night with the fog would just be awesome. especially with how this swamp is looking in the remake. I mean, dude, I said it in my last video, but it's giving real gothic horror vibes. Exploring a gothic horror themed swamp with the flood would... I have no words. And you know, kind of off the back of that as well, something that I'd like to see changed and added that's really obvious, and it applies to all the levels from here on out, is more horror pertaining to the flood. I don't need to elaborate on that because we're all on the same page. Hell, even Halo Studios are on the same page with that as well. But I just felt like I had to mention it because it'd be sacrilege if I didn't.
Okay. Hate to break it to you, you can't explore with the sprint mechanic. Like, if you're going to get the horror element where this bombardment of flood is coming, and it's just a taste before you get to the library where it gets much worse, you're not going to be able to walk around and explore. Like, maybe before the mission, if you have that area open, fine, you could explore it, find things, maybe find a terminal before you actually start the mission as you're exploring the swamp, and then you can't activate it unless you restart the level, something like that. Now, what I think they can do is make dips in the swamp, so as you're walking, if you step in the wrong dip, you like fall in, and maybe you don't die, but like your life starts draining and your shield starts draining, and then you're just dying slowly. So then to get out, you have to turn on the light, try to point up, and then you see like little ripples, and then you can walk out, but then flood is jumping at you. That would bring more of like it'll fill you with anxiety and claustrophobia and everything, because dude, like that would be terrifying. But in terms of exploration, I don't think you should enlarge it. I don't think you should shorten it. I don't think the sprint mechanic actually works. I've said it before, sprint should be like this. In terms of Halo 4 almost had it right. If you're going to introduce sprint in Halo, it needs to be every time you use sprint, it alerts the enemies and maybe it gets harder. And then maybe the first time it takes 3 seconds to recharge your sprint. And then you use sprint again, and now it takes 10 seconds. And it keeps it making it more difficult. But you can't sprint for a long amount of time, and the more you use it, the worse it gets. Maybe you even get slower at walking, you get slower at reloading. To try to incorporate sprint in HaloCE, sprint needs to be something that's very much nerfed, or like it would make sense to go from reach. It's the armor ability. Like they were able to pack some armor abilities like armor lock, no jetpacks, sprint, maybe something else, thruster pack, I don't know. But other than that, like sprint, you shouldn't be able to sprint the whole time. And like there's ways to incorporate sprint where or sprint could be unlocked after you complete it in legendary to explore certain areas that you absolutely cannot do without sprint. Or sprint could be a skull you can activate that you have to find first after beating on heroic. It should work without sprint, but we're getting sprint, so sorry to crush your dreams on that. You're not going to be able to explore because of sprint.
So, the library, everybody's favorite Halo level.
Horror and
Let's talk about the library. So, I have some ideas as to what I want added to this level, and a lot of it kind of boils down to making it a sort of alternate version of Quarantine Zone in Halo 2, because the more that I thought about it when I was writing this video, the more I realized that it really has the potential to kind of execute on a lot of what Quarantine Zone did, but possibly just in a better way. So, the first thing that I want to see, which is kind of in line with Halo Studios' idea to increase the variance with the enemies in the level, is more Sentinel variants. In particular, I want to see the Enforcers back. We've not had them since 2004. 2004. And if you ask me, the library would be the best place to reintroduce them. Firstly, the environment of the library is more than big enough to facilitate Enforcers. I mean, again, so many Halo 1 mods have integrated Enforcers into the library, and they feel so at home. It doesn't feel like they're too cramped or like they don't belong. They feel perfect on that level. Secondly, at this point in the outbreak, it's getting pretty bad. The Flood are spreading quite heavily. I mean, the fact that the library is sustaining an outbreak is a pretty big deal. And which kind of Sentinel happens to have massive AoE damage against infected hosts? Why, the Enforcers, of course. It'd also be great from a gameplay perspective as well, because the Sentinel sandbox would kind of ramp up after Guilty Spark. Of course, you get regular aggressors fighting with you on Guilty Spark, and then you get to this massive Flood facility, and all of a sudden, Enforcers are your allies as well, which, again, would be so cool. Imagine the Enforcers being allies. Hoo-hoo-hoo. And then off the back of that as well, something I'd also like to see is a small but kind of solidified Covenant presence as well. How that'd go about happening, I don't know.
Okay. Having the Enforcers is not a bad idea. What I would say, I have an idea. Okay, so in 343 Guilty Spark, when you go to the swamp, when you see the Sentinels, they should be your enemy too. And then Guilty Spark has to go and kind of point them away from you. He has to kind of activate them, because whatever's on the ring is a threat, and especially on the library. Like, I would say the Enforcers and the Sentinels, after he leaves you there to fight the Flood, when you see Enforcer, Sentinel, they're also firing at you. Then they become on your side when Guilty Spark comes back, almost like activating their, doing a manual override in every level of the library. So then after the library, if you see Enforcers, well, actually no, there's 2 betrayals and then you're screwed. But that's like the only time the Enforcers and Sentinels go from your enemy to an ally, and it has to be at every level. So where he's trying to activate that. And I would say with the Covenant presence, they need to all be dead in the library. I wouldn't say any ghosts, but I would say maybe you go into a corridor and there's an elite that is freaking out, he cut off his arm and he's just laying there, kind of what you saw with the humans, or with that one human that survived, and he's shooting at you when you go in, and you have to take him out because he's just so traumatized with the Flood, and he cut off his own arm to not get infected. But then he's chilling there, and then as soon as you turn around, he becomes a giant Flood form or something like that, where he becomes this whacked out Flood form without an arm and just comes and attacks you. So you have to be real quick. Or you find 2 elite, or an elite and a jackal, just stacking their bodies so they don't become Flood in a certain hallway, and then you turn around and all this Flood comes and you have to kill them all. That would make it would add to the gameplay without taking away elements from CE, and it would just make the library harder than it already is. So
I still like my idea of some of the Governors of Contrition sneaking in from Arbiter's fleet and going in to feed themselves to the Flood. I think that would be an awesome way to include the Covenant, but just some kind of Covenant presence. Again, Ruby did this really
it has to
well.
Be simple.
There were some areas on the level where the Covenant had backed themselves into a corner and built a kind of small base to hold off against the parasite. Something like that, just to add a little bit more variance to the level, and
but the
turn it
bodies
into more of a
wouldn't be around.
three-way war would be awesome. And then, as far as the Flood are concerned, I think that the library is the best place to introduce the pure forms. Halo 2 gave us the next level of the Sentinels. Halo 3 gave us the next level of the Flood, but we never had the 2 together. And what better place to do that is there than the library? Again, not only would this be perfect from a narrative perspective, because the library is realistically where most of the pure form specimens would have been held, but also from a gameplay perspective, just like with the Sentinels, it'd mean that the Flood sandbox would ramp up after Guilty Spark. Just imagine.
I would say it should ramp up after the library, because Guilty Spark you get a taste, and then it ramps up with pretty much everything you get in HaloCE on the library, and then 2 betrayals starts ramping up with the pure forms or new Flood types. I would like to see a Flood like a mech flood, like infused with multiple humans or a human and an elite, and it just brought itself together and it's bigger. You know, like it's supposed to be grotesque and everything. So kind of like a Captain Keyes variant where he's like in this giant cocoon-like flood, but one that actually moves and just devours you. Kind of like a boss fight. And then in the library, you could have the enforcers as like a boss fight on every level. They might introduce that because, dude, Halo Infinite was like every freaking map had to have a boss fight. It was freaking. They went from like the critique of, oh, we didn't get a boss fight with the Didact to like a semi boss fight with the Wardens, and then just every single mission there was a boss fight. It's like, dude, if we critique something, you don't have to go overboard and you don't have to erase everything. It's insane. Like we critiqued Halo 5, but Halo 5 Guardians, like people stayed on and played that. Like the sandbox got better, the it became fun, it became wacky, and it became online play was starting to become more enjoyable. Still sucked, the art sucked, the engine was whatever, and it was still Halo 5 at the end of the day.
The library, where it's a three-way war between us, allied with Sentinel aggressors and enforcers, against a small contingent of cultish Covenant, and then the Flood with pure forms as well. Tell me that wouldn't make the library one of the sickest levels in the entire franchise.
I want only Flood on the library.
I guarantee you're sat there, you're like, you know what? Luke's right.
Nope. It's gotta be like the Covenant wouldn't be like it needs to, like the library is all a horror level. Like it takes you away. Like one of the reasons the library is so good because it takes you away from the Covenant battle, and it really makes you remember or not remember. It puts you in a new game completely. Like we're not just fighting the Covenant. Now there's something happening that we don't understand, and this is terrifying. We're getting zombies and like what. Like we don't know anything about this enemy. And you're discovering it, so then like it makes the Flood a massive threat where wherever they are, pretty much like they wipe out whatever species is around. And if you're gonna also like introducing the wolf dogs, then later on having Flood wolf dogs, that would make a very compelling argument of why you would want wildlife on the Halo ring. Like, dude, like Flood birds and fishes and stuff just coming out of the water and bombarding you in the later missions. Like that I would say, like, that would be the only reason I would want the wildlife there. But other than that, I don't want the Covenant in the library. I want them all dead and just grotesque monsters, and that's it.
Right. So, moving on to what I think is kind of a sleeper level in Halo 1, 2 Betrayals. This is the moment where the entire weapon and enemy and kind of vehicle sandbox as well in Halo...
Oh, something I think would be... It would give us like more questions about the Flood. Towards the end of the level of the library, we have to actually free... Guilty Spark at maybe the last floor. Like tentacles are wrapping, not necessarily the grave mine, but it's starting to get there where the Flood is trying to tear it apart, stop you and everything, and where there's like a connection moment between Chief and the Guilty Spark, where he's like, "You truly are the Reclaimer." All something not with that crappy dialogue that I just put out there, but something that it's like, it's establishing that, you know, there's like, oh sweet, we got an ally, and then the next mission right in the beginning, like there's the betrayal, and it's like, holy crap, we can't trust nobody. I think it would just add more emotion to the betrayal of the Guilty Spark, and yeah, I think it'd add a little more to the story. It'd be nice, and it's like it would be an added. We get like a little boss fight, like that'd be sick.
One finally
but we're not
comes
getting
together
that.
and comes to a head, and it's a very long, quite arduous, but very fun mission. It's also the first mission in the game where we experience any kind of, I don't know, active weather, I guess you'd say. Of course, in the valley, it's snowing. Wait, is it snowing on a sword in the control room? You know, I actually can't remember. I may be wrong on that, but either way, the inclement weather on Two Betrayals, I think, should be ramped up. I don't know about you, but for years I've wanted actual harsh weather, like Death Stranding style harsh weather in Halo. I was really hoping that Infinite was going to have it, and of course it was nowhere to be seen. But I think that Two Betrayals would be the best place to do that. With the power of Unreal 5, there's no way they couldn't do extreme blizzards at certain sections. Like, dude, imagine, right, so, imagine that final section where you emerge from the tunnel and Under Cover of Night starts playing, and it's the final run to the Banshee to the final generator. And the Flood are everywhere. The Covenant are everywhere. Imagine pushing through that valley in a blizzard so thick you can't see like 15 feet in front of you, and there's like infected sprinting at you out of the snow. The vibes of that at nighttime in the valley would be immaculate. I really hope to see some more inclement weather, actually inclement weather this time, on Two Betrayals. And I guess the second thing that I kind of want to see changed, but I guess carried forward from the library, would just be that Sentinel variance. Again, much like the library, the actual environments of Two Betrayals are massive.
Yeah, the Sentinels make sense.
And also in the interiors of the facilities as well. They're pretty big. There's definitely room for Enforcers in there. And I'd love to see the Enforcers carry forward into that level as well, because, of course, now they'd be our enemies. So in that way, it'd only add to the enemy sandbox, whilst also adding to the context and the fiction of the level. Oh, and also, given that this is not only...
Yeah, but I would want to see the Flood taking apart the Enforcers, like jumping on it, like stripping it piece by piece.
A vehicle level, but specifically an air vehicle level as well, it'd make even more sense for there to be Enforcers, because they'd want to be destroying vehicles so the Flood couldn't commandeer them. You cannot tell me right now that Enforcers shouldn't be in this game. Yes, I have a massive sweet spot for them, and yes, I miss them dearly.
They don't need to be, but
I just
it'd be
think
great.
they fit so well in both the library and also Two Betrayals.
Yeah, just 2 missions would be like a nice palate cleanser, and then that's it.
Now then, Keys is an interesting one, because I feel like this level, despite of course the big twist at the end that everyone loves, is probably the most slept on level of Halo 1, and I think it could honestly just do with more personality. I think the areas when you're fighting through the coolant and through the canyons have a lot of personality, but once you get inside the ship, I feel like you're kind of just going through the motions, and I think it should change, right? And the biggest way that I think they could do that is by employing darkness. So I am a huge fan of when Halo makes you use your flashlight. Granted, there are very few instances of that, even in the Bungie era, but the few times that you do are some of my favorite moments in the entire franchise, and I think that Keys would be an excellent level to adopt that. I always thought, despite how destroyed and wrecked the Truth and Wreck really was, it was really bright inside, and I feel like if they just knocked the lights out in the hallways and had the Flood still pour in through the walls...
I would say... Sorry, it's just really funny how I paused it. He's like... I would say yes, but here's my caveat. Very few lights are off, but the more you shoot and there's ricochets and you throw grenades, lights start going off. Like if you throw a grenade at a certain spot, all the lights just because of the explosion go off. Then there's a hole on the ground or something, like a dent, whatever. Like, but the lights start going off because like walls are exploding and you're shooting everywhere. It's hitting the walls and it's hitting a light. And yeah, I would like it to be interactive more than just now let's make it all dark. I'm all for going back to dark because even campaign evolved, the silent cartographer, it's too bright. And obviously Anniversary, everything's way too bright. Even Anniversary Halo 2, it's too bright. So yeah, I agree with making it darker, but I would like to be more interactive.
Through the ceiling, but just in darkness, and made you have to use your flashlight, that would be so vibey, and it'd add to the overall kind of persona and soul of the level. And then kind of off the back of that, I really, 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 really hope that one of the extra weapons is the flamethrower, and specifically that it appears on this level. Because, dude, could you imagine fighting through the cramped hallways of the Truth and Wreck in near darkness with a flamethrower to light your way?
Be super.
Dude, oh my god, sign me up. And that brings
Doesn't make sense, man. It doesn't make sense to have the flamethrower on that map. Like, you'd have to know that the flood is there to bring on a flamethrower. You know, like you wouldn't bring the flamethrower to fight the Covenant. You know what I mean? But if you're taking away logic, like, I think we could live without it on Halo 1 and bring it in later. Or bring it in... Like, we're not getting multiplayer. Bringing in multiplayer would be fine. Yeah, if we get the flamethrower, it's a nice add. Cool. But it's not one of those things that I think like we need and it would add or subtract from the experience.
us very nicely to...
Because remember, we got to think the changes they make have to add to the HaloCE experience. It can't take away. We can't change things that are going to take away from what us as fans want new fans to experience and us as fans want to experience more of. Like, we want to experience more, not less. So, yeah.
the more. And a lot of the ideas that I had for keys, I would like to move forward into the more as well. The flamethrower, of course, but also the darkness aspect, because again, this is a derelict, destroyed ship. It's a ship that, by the looks of it, based off the fact that they're going off of Bungie's original storyboards, is quite literally cut in half, right? This thing is basically non-functioning, so it should be very dark inside, and so use of the flashlight should be pretty necessary. But there's stuff that I want to see beyond that. Now, one of the biggest things that I want to see moved from Halo the Flood, the book, into the game is the story of Zukazamami and Yayap. So, very short story if you don't know. During the events of Halo 1, an elite called Zukazamami and his grunt compatriot, Yayap, were sent to assassinate the Master Chief. And basically, all the way throughout the campaign, from Pillar of Autumn all the way up to the Maw, they are like hot on your heels and they almost kill you several times, but it never happens. And then, in the end, they both die. Zuka is the elite.
In the main story, I don't think it's necessary.
Right at the end of the Maw. And,
maybe like a side story.
Yayap doesn't die there. He actually escapes the ship
that you could play other than the campaign, like a second campaign,
supplies, like water and methane, and he drives off in a ghost into the sunset, and basically lives out the last like 3 hours of his life on his own terms, chilling, waiting for the autumn to detonate and his time to come. Which I think would be such a great addition for a legendary ending. Of course, I really want the Chief, the Johnson and Elite hug to still be there, even though it's obviously not canon. But I would also love to see a cutscene that shows Yayap going away in the ghost and just making peace with what's about to happen, sitting on a hilltop, enjoying some water, or whatever it is that he drinks, and just sitting back, waiting for the end to come. That would be a very cool cutscene. And on that note, actually, I would also love to see, given the fact that we're getting way more Johnson in this game, how Johnson actually survived the events of, well, the end of the game. Whether that's turning breaking quarantine into a cutscene, which would be fucking awesome, or, I don't know, having some alternate new entry into the lore that shows how he got out of the facility, and then from the facility to the Pelican in space with some of the ODST, just combining all that together and giving us a cohesive kind of chain of events of how he got off Alpha Halo would be incredible. And that is just perfect, like legendary, or hell, even Lasso ending material. And then the final thing that I want to see, that by the looks of it, again, based on this concept art, I think we will...
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, it would be a nice... I still want to be somewhat classified, like it leaves us to our imagination. I would like to see them do something where they actually make the hug canon. They're able to like teleport Johnson the Elite into like a phantom, and the phantom go through slip space, something, and then he breaks off an escape pod in that slip space and puts in coordinates to Earth. I don't know. And like, it's not necessary, but I just love that Johnson and Elite hugging scene. I think it would be I mean, if they could make it canon, it'd be fun.
we'll see is a fixed Warthog run. So, of course, the big joke is that the Warthog run in Halo 1 makes absolutely no sense at all. Both in terms of the fact that there's apparently a bridge in the middle of the ship, but also the length of the Warthog run is longer than the ship itself. It makes no sense. It's not a deal breaker, but I would like to see them kind of properly bring that Warthog run into the canon and tie it in with the storyboards more. But again, like we said, it's looking like they're going to be doing that. And
Yeah, they could make the run just as long if there's more destruction, like you're going down something broken, then you gotta loop back around this way, and then maybe the ship is broken in half, and then at this section, it's when it's broken in half, it's like a bunch of panels that are down, and then you give the coordinates, and Foehammer comes in and dies. And you wait there on that platform, but it's not this created platform, it's something from debris. So there's a way to make it, if they care, which I don't believe they care that much. But you can make it with like pieces of the ship all broken and messed up and coils everywhere, and make it even more fun, where like there's tight hallways that you have to loop around, and if you don't do it fast enough, like time runs out, it all blows up, you die, you have to restart. But yeah, there's a way to make it just as long and make it lore accurate.
The fact that I like to see them kind of studios going back to Bungie's storyboards for Halo 1 and reanalyzing them and reintegrating some of the stuff from those storyboards is awesome. I love that, and I really hope to see more of that throughout the game. So, those are some of the things that I would like to see changed in every level from, well, the main menu all the way up until the maw. Do you agree with my ideas? Do you want to see some different changes? Let me know down below in the comments. And with that said, I'm going to round that one out there. I want to give a huge thank you to that laugh track.
Yeah, half and half. I agree and disagree. I think, I agree halfway. There's obviously things I disagree on. I have ideas. There's things I agree with some minor tweaks. And everybody's going to have their opinion. That's fine. I think, brother, you got a lot of faith. I'm not sure if I believe they would do any of that stuff. Quite honestly, that's just me. I don't know. But, I don't think they're going to do any of the stuff that we want. I think they might listen to some things, maybe some tweaks. Because I don't think they're smart, but if they are smart, they release that trailer of the Silent Cartographer or that gameplay to get the feedback. I also think, if you see my past streams, I talked about how, like, they're remaking the campaign. This isn't an anniversary. So I do think they're going to remake all the Bungie games, at least the trilogy, so that they could keep making new games and introduce that to the fandom, to the new fandom that they're trying, or the new audience they're trying to get. I have a lot more thoughts on Halo. Like, I might jump on a live stream probably tonight. But yeah, man, good on you. I recommend everybody following that guy. In terms of Halo, he knows his stuff. Gets a little too animated at times for me. And granted, he reads lore. I don't read as much lore. Like, the lore I read is Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. Like, the original EU, not the bullcrap Disney has. But I do think he's on the right track, and he has a lot of good ideas. I would love to talk to him, play Halo with him, and just pick his brain and just have fun actually going through. Like, I'm trying to figure out like a way to get some of my friends back to do LAN parties, man. I'm even okay with co-op on campaign, but I do think a huge mistake is not having multiplayer for this new game. If you're trying to introduce a new audience, man, get multiplayer running. Make it stupid simple, man. Get Battle Royale and Slayer, and that's it. And then incorporate things as you go. Capture the flag, like simple stuff. I don't know, man. Like they made so many stupid changes, so many decisions that it didn't make sense, and we're like you guys saw, like we have to point out little things that are like, why isn't this here? Even the older shields, man. Like I'm glad in Halo 2 and 3 didn't have health packs, but I want health packs in HaloCE. It adds to it. It makes it also seem that the armor is is outdated when you get to Halo 2. When he gets the new armor, that's no longer needs health packs. Like literally, it's a cut scene of him talking about, oh, you don't need this. It recharges on its own. We updated the armor, and he took that out, brother. Like what the freak? Like health packs is part of the video game lore, dude. And you guys took that out. Like, did you not? If you're remaking Halo 1, you also got to understand what comes after HaloCE. Like, there's a point to updating the armor. Maybe they made it less susceptible for the blood to infiltrate that armor. Maybe like it's something 343 forgot to do. I know Halo 3, like his armor has some tweaks, but 343 is just like, oh, it's nanotechnology, which is also freaking dumb. But yeah, man, like some things need to be added later. If this is the first game, you don't need to put everything in it. Like I love dual wielding. I don't want dual wielding in HaloCE. I love that there's no health packs in the other games. I do want health packs in HaloCE, man. Like make it make it a simple game, a beginner game. And then Halo 2, like look at the jump from HaloCE to Halo 2. It's very drastic. It's awesome. And then Halo 3 is just ramping that up to 100. Just taking Halo 2 and making it even better. Like, come on, man. Like, think about the progression. You don't have to nerf anything. And you guys did already. Like, what the freak, man? But, yeah, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching, people.